Kararan Vintage Shop Guide. A local Japanese vintage clothing lover introduces Japanese vintage shops. I visited second clothing stores in various regions and recommend the best ones. 13 recommended best vintage clothing stores in Shinsaibashi and Horie, Osaka, Japan. I actually went to a recommended second-hand clothing store in Shinsaibashi and Horie. Shinsaibashi, the downtown area of Osaka. Second-hand clothing stores are scattered in the nearby Amemura and Horie areas. Introducing Japan's top-class Euro vintage second-hand clothing stores and the best shops in Osaka. It's a fun area with a very compact town and lots of shops within walking distance. Introduce second-hand clothing stores that you actually visited, shopped, and liked. Next time I visit, I plan to visit more stores and update. 1. I actually went to a recommended second-hand clothing store in Shinsaibashi and Horie. 1. Hori is a mecca of fashion where you can enjoy brands and select shops. Hori has many select shops as well as vintage clothing stores. You can enjoy brand shops such as Lewis Leathers, which vintage lovers can also enjoy, along with visiting vintage clothing stores. The second-hand clothing store Jam, which looks like a large warehouse, is famous, but there are cafes and beauty salons that have renovated the old townscape, and the narrow back alleys are lined with hideaway-like shops. It's close to downtown Shinsaibashi, so it's convenient to stop by before a drinking party. Lara Vintage. A well-known women's vintage store. The storefront in Hori doesn't stand out, but once inside, it has a top-class selection even in Japan. http URL. There are unisex and men's items, but mainly women's items. Beautiful products line up. Features Euro vintage and French vintage. Vintage dresses from the 1930s to 1950s are also available, and there are many rare second-hand clothes that you have never seen before. There are many really beautiful products such as dresses and blouses. These items are very valuable, so please handle them with care. There are also French work and military items, so men's is also a must-see. The price range is around 10,000 yen to 30,000 yen. Closed, Dig Upper Clothing Store. Closed on 2023. A well-known Euro vintage store. Although it is located on the outskirts of Hori, it is well worth a visit. The first floor of the building is another select shop. Dig Upper. Moved from Kitahori to Ishigatsucha on February 13, 2022. Open if there is a sign. Take the stairs to the second floor. Japan's top-class selection of items such as grandpa shirts, fireman jackets, French military, Euro work, setups, and coats. Rare items such as vintage setups and work jackets are lined up. It's a valuable second-hand clothes, so let's show it carefully. It's a famous shop, and it's a very high-quality one-of-a-kind item, so if you like it, I recommend you buy it immediately. The price range ranges from 10,000 to 30,000 yen to tens of thousands of yen. Rain. Located between Shinsaibashi and Nagaharabashi, Shinsaibashi's most favorite vintage clothing store. http URL. It's a little far from the downtown area, but it's one of the famous Osaka vintage restaurants known to those in the know. The store is located on the third floor and is accessed by an elevator. There is a wonderful space that does not seem like one room in a multi-tenant building. Great selection. I am also happy that there are many ladies. The 80s and 90s are common, but even older vintage denim and corduroy pants are practical and inexpensive. In the vintage denim corner, Levi's late 66 and up are sold at low prices. Many jeans are in good condition. The leather shoes are very carefully maintained and have a quality that makes you forget that they are vintage. Overall cheaper than the market price. Many are around 5,000 to 20,000 yen, but can you buy this for less than 10,000 yen? There were also many vintage clothes. Old Clothes and Plants Terrace. Second-hand clothing store that carries a lot of American casual and European vintage. http URL. The fourth floor of the same building as the second-hand clothing store Rain. Vintage Main. Both women's and men's available. More men's. There is a sofa next to the cash register, and there is a space where you can buy drinks and sit down to chat. It's a nice, cozy second-hand store. There is a vintage corner for kids and children's clothing in the back of the store, and the number of items in stock is large. Plants such as foliage plants and dried flowers are sold by the window. A full lineup of classic vintage items. A wide range of styling such as American casual, Euro, military, sports, street and formal. The price range is around 5,000 to 15,000 yen. Pekan. A second-hand clothing store with 2 floors near Honmachi Station. Pekan. A short walk from the station. Nestled quietly in an area lined with multi-tenant buildings. The store is located on the second and third floors of the building. Euro vintage is the main, but there are also quite a few American casual classics. A wide range of lineups that will let you know that this is a shop that really likes second-hand clothes. There are also Euro military items, and there are many outdoor items. Mode and designer brand second-hand clothes are also lined up. There are many men's items, but there are also unisex and women's items. My personal favorite is the lineup of sports brands from the 80s to 90s. Umbro nylon jackets and vintage soccer uniforms are available. The price range is around 5,000 to 30,000 yen. Many items are around 10,000 yen. The third floor is a warehouse, which is sometimes open to the public. They have sales several times a year. Acorn, one of Osaka's top-class vintage shops. http URL. It's a roadside store, so it's easy to understand. There are many special vintages over 100,000 yen, and a great selection. Masterpieces of each genre such as military, American casual, and Euro vintage are available. There are many valuable used clothes, so let's show them carefully. Post Acorn. Acorn affiliated stores. http URL. Right in front of Acorn. The main store is regular used clothes that are cheaper than Acorn. Price range from 8,000 to 20,000 yen. The actual size is written on the tag, such as Levi's, which is in large quantities, making it easy to choose. There is only an Acorn series that handles special vintages, and the product lineup is also wonderful. There are many products on the second floor. Searchlight. A vintage shop that sells accessories such as Euro military, vintage, and silver accessories. Searchlight. Third floor of a multi-tenant building. They also sell vintage clothing, which is of high quality. And cheap. Mainly American casual and military. There are many standard second-hand clothes, but the size and price are good. Price range from 5,000 to 15,000 yen. They have a wide range of silver accessories, antiques, vintage accessories, and other fashion goods and accessories, and the product lineup is top class. There are quite a few, so I want to take a closer look and find the ring I like. Freck Vintage and Used Clothing. Ladies' second-hand clothing store with many Euro vintage items. Freck Vintage. Second floor of a multi-tenant building. There are some men's items, but the women's items are the main ones. There are a lot of Euro vintage and American casual used clothes, and the women's vintage items are quite high quality and have a lot of inventory. Gorgeous dresses like Europe and cute retro styling are available. There are many old clothes that are clean and in good condition. The price range tends to be around 5,000 to 10,000 yen with a cheap impression. 2nd Street Shinsaibashi. Located in the arcade of the bustling Shinsaibashi Suchi shopping street, 2nd Street has excellent access. http URL. Located on the second floor of the building, the store is a bit inconspicuous, but the store is long and full of inventory. There are many street and outdoor types, and the number of products is sufficient. 2nd Street prices are reasonable, and some items are surprisingly cheap. If you go during the 20% off sale, you'll be in trouble because there are so many things you want. In the back of the store, American casual, military, and Euro work are lined up, and it is a unique selection of 2nd Street near Shinsaibashi, Horie, and Amemura, where vintage second-hand clothing stores are nearby. There are women's, but there are more men's. 20% off all clothing on sale when you visit. Levi's 646 of 70s is 6,500 yen. Are flared pants popular these days? Buy it now. It's in good condition, but the talon zip gives it a nice length. A size that is in high demand at about W34. I was also interested in Czech army gowns and French army coats. All cheap. America Muram Mitsudera Kaiken used clothing store Fugs. Mitsutera Kaiken, a multi-tenant building standing in the center of Amemura. Among the many used clothing stores in Amemura, this is my favorite. http URL. Second-hand clothing store Fugs is open in the center of the second floor. Quite high-quality vintages are available for around 10,000 yen. The age is old, and the 70s and 80s are available cheaply. What's more, they almost always have half-price sales, and the turnover rate of products is high, so you can always find good used clothes. There are many really cool American casual shops, and I end up shopping every time I go. A long time ago, when I was just starting out as an office worker, I stopped by during my free time at work and bought a leather jacket. 2nd Street Horie. 2nd Street is located in Hori, Osaka's premier fashion district. Located on Orange Street, Horie's main street, it's easy to find along with other select shops and brand shops. http URL. The store is large. Women's has a large stock of used brand clothes and select shops. There are many men's and unisex items, and Horie's unique product lineup includes fashion, street, and formal wear. The Euro, French work, and military corners were especially strong, and there were some rare items. Cheap anyway. After all, 2nd Street is justice. Closed, used clothing store Jam Horie main store. Closed in 2023. Horie is the head office of the famous vintage clothing store Jam. It expanded a few years ago, and the sales floor area is one of the largest in Osaka. http URL. It's overflowing with vintage and second-hand clothes that need no explanation. The denim corner is no longer a museum. And a wall of Dr. Martens. It keeps Dr. Martens made in the UK. I'm glad that it's really easy to see that they are lined up by size. Women's second-hand clothes are also in good condition and have a good size vintage. The number of stocks is very large, and it is good that there are many sizes and color options for each standard item of second-hand clothes. A wide variety of sizes and good condition are unique to JAM, a large-scale second-hand clothing store. There is another store on Hori Orange Street. The price range is around 3,000 to 15,000 yen.